I'm here today to announce that I am going to be signing the appointment to put Judge Adam Tannenhaum to be the next Supreme Court Justice in Florida. Judge Tannenhaum is currently an appeals judge in the 1st District Court of Appeals. Now, why did we come to Seminole High School to do this? Well, he graduated first in his class from Seminole High School back when he was a student, having grown up in this area, and his parents still live very close by right here in Pinellas County. So then he's #1 at Seminole High School. Then he goes to graduate #1 again at the University of Florida. So he's with student government and into Florida Blue Key and UF Hall of Fame now. He received his law degree from Georgetown University Law Center. He did not let that pollute his frame of mind, I'm happy to say, because otherwise he wouldn't be getting this nomination. And so he went through that, done. And then he's had a really distinguished legal career, and he's done a variety of things, not just as a judge, but also working in the different branches of government. And I think he's done very well as a judge. He's written a lot of very important opinions, clearly has a very coherent view of the law. But I will tell you this, I was talking to some of my guys after I interviewed the judge, and it's like we've got 23+ million people, in the state of Florida. And I would guarantee you, you will not find 10 people out of that 23 million that knows more about Florida government, not just law and Supreme Court and courts, but the agencies, the legislative branch, all that, than Judge Tannenhaum. I mean, he knows this stuff very, very well. And I think he's bringing, I was thinking like he probably knows more. I've been running the executive branch. He may know more than, he knows how these things work. He knows the pressure points. And I think it's very valuable knowledge to be able to do it. So he's had to think deeply about what's the purpose of the Constitution of the state and these institutions. Now, and ultimately, it's to preserve a free society, to give people opportunities to be able to make the most of their God-given talents, to make sure we maintain order and public safety, and all the really core things is what we're driving for. And so I think he brings a really, really strong background for that. And I think he's going to do a really, really good job on the Florida Supreme Court. We gave a little talk in Tallahassee yesterday for the state of the state, and we listed off all the things, 7 years ago to now, all the things that we've achieved, and it's really, really great, and all that, and on an individual basis, lower taxes, yes, I know we've paid down all this debt that the states had, all these great things. But in the larger context, it's okay, we're on America's 250th anniversary coming up on July 4th, 2026. And, the founders were not just worried about the taxes without representation or not having a monarchy. Those were important, but the larger question was, could you have self-government actually succeed? Because you know what, it hadn't ever succeeded, in a long-term fashion anywhere else in the history of humanity. And so they really believe that it was the United States that would answer these questions about, can you have a society based on the idea that our rights are naturally granted by God, not by the government? Rule of law rather than the rule of men? Can a written constitution circumscribe power? All these different things ultimately was up for debate. And it was something that they were trying to answer, but they knew that whatever they did, Constitution, Declaration of Independence, all great, all very important. Those don't run on autopilot. They require every generation to preserve and cultivate a free society. And that's really what we're trying to do writ large in the state of Florida. And so all these positions have important parts to them. Certainly having a court that's dedicated, to the Constitution is very important. And one thing, and I'm going to let the judge come up here and talk in 1 second. You got to be smart. You got to understand how to interpret the law and the Constitution. But you also have, you need to have the courage to be able to apply that in circumstances where it might not be easy. you don't really need constitutional protections if they're popular, right? Because if it's popular, then it's likely not going to be something that a legislature would infringe on, or a local government would infringe on. The time where you need a court to be willing to stand up is when it may not be as popular to do so. There may be times where you have to render decisions that is going to lead to criticism from media, and you got to be willing to run into that, and you can't shirk your responsibilities because you're worried that they may say bad things about you. So having that courage and having the warrior spirit that you're going to do what's right, regardless of the blowback or regardless of the fallout, that's something that's an intangible that you necessarily couldn't see on somebody's resume. But I'll tell you, I think Judge Tannenbaum has shown that in his time as an appellate judge. And so the court he sits on gets most of the appeals involving state government, certainly some major issues that have come down the pike over the years. And he's been right on every time he's rendered a ruling. So I think he obviously has the intellect. I mean, if you're first in your class in Seminole High and first in your class at UF, that's obviously very strong, and he's got a great track record there. Very good judge. Very good opinions, and look, if you don't have a track record, you may be good, but you just don't know, right? If someone has a track record of doing good, chances are they're going to continue that going forward. So I think he has it, but I also think he has the intangibles of being somebody that really is going to fight for what's right, fight for the Constitution, fight for the people, even when it's not easy. I think he's going to rule without fear or favor. So that's what it's all about. Okay.